coming up with different figures, and governors have come forward to say, oh, we can't afford, all of this that you're pushing forward. So that's where that's stemming from, and that's the major headline on the front page of Saturday Punch. Also, we have on the front page of Vanguard, yes, on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, the major headline: killing fields, 6,931 people killed under Tinubu in 10 months. Okwama massacre, the untold story, the fears, the posers. Federal government's fresh borrowing drives up Nigeria's public debt to 97.3 trillion naira. All right, and yes, those are the major headlines on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. Also on Daily Trust for Saturday, we have 5 years after commissioning, multi-billion naira Barrow port remains dormant. Why facility is yet to take off, as all eyes on Tinubu. And we also have here, Niger opens border with Nigeria, and 2 Nasarawa varsity students die in stampede. Also another conversation, this in the implementation of palliative distribution is a major cause for concern for a lot of people. Going to Sunday now, we have here in new attacks, 8 policemen killed in Delta, Imo, 6 missing. And right as to that, Force headquarters says 5 suspects arrested. Military gets fresh clues on Okwama killings. Reverberations in Borno. Widow of slain Major Shafa heavily pregnant as family laments a cut so deep. Also, high life legend Kabaka bows out at 77. Also, we have here on the front page of the Nation newspaper, insecurity, 6 police officers killed in another Delta ambush. And we also have here minimum wage crisis brews in states over chapters demand for jumbo pay. Abia, Anambra, Bayelsa, Kebbi, Nasarawa, Zamfara default payment of 30,000 naira. And the major headline on the front page of Sunday Punch: 31 states owe Central Bank of Nigeria 340 billion naira bailout funds. And the riders to that, salary bailout facility advanced to states under Emefiele stopped by Cardoso. Tinubu government borrowed 4.9 trillion naira from local creditors in 6 months, says DMO, and that's Debt Management Office, and so on and so forth. But of course, another major headline across all of the papers is this rather, comforting news as regards the release of the abducted students in Kuriga, from Kuriga local government in Kaduna State. I mean, good tidings, good news, a lot of excitement as regards that particular situation. Okay, thank you. All right, a lot of excitement as regards that particular situation. There's a lot to also look forward to. There are still a lot of others still in captivity. Well, we've still not gotten anything as regards the Borno situation, the women that were abducted in the IDP camp in Borno State. And also very unfortunate incident that happened in Niger State as well. And reports coming in is about 66 people or so have lost their lives in what happened in Niger State. I mean, there's just a lot happening around, and that is why we have trends in the papers to bring you up to speed as regards all of these trending stories. Now, joining me via the phone line is Saheed Fuhad to give analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating as regards the major trending stories for this morning. Good morning, Fuhad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. Ramadan Karim.
Thank you.
It's okay. All right, so Fuad, 137 students released. Hallelujah to that one.
Yeah, that's a very good story, a very good news story. Of course, the news broke yesterday morning, Sunday. I think we, of course, attended to that particular information extensively on Political Roundtable yesterday. But there are updates now. As at yesterday, we didn't have the update until the governor of Kaduna State, Ufasoni, was on TV. And of course, had the opportunity to speak with journalists. That was at exactly the time when the children were also presented to him. And so there were new information, because as at yesterday morning, the information we had was that, look, 287 children had been returned. The number was 287. But yesterday, the governor now clarified that, yes, the initial report of the kidnapping had shown that, both the children and the teachers amounted to 287, kidnapped children and teachers. But yesterday he said that, look, they now got the actual figures that in fact they were 137, not 287. And that, look, when the kidnapping first happened, he wasn't interested really in arguing on figures. Because again, the facts were not completely clear as to the number of persons that were kidnapped. And that was not his focus really, to begin to talk about whether they were up to 287 or not. But that as yesterday, he confirmed that they were actually 137. And so that's the number of that all the children had been released. Unfortunately, too, we were informed that the teacher of these children could not make it. That was the word the governor used. That he was informed that again, while all of these things was happening, he had some complications and unfortunately could not make it back. The teachers of this pupil could not make it back. That means he died while all of this was going on. Again, if you look at the pictures we are seeing, Sandra, of these children, you understand what they probably had gone through in the hands of these criminals. They looked worn out. 17 days in the kidnappers' den. These children were picked up in Kaduna State and were eventually released somewhere in Zamfara. For people who know the north very well, this could mean that these children have walked close to 1,000 kilometers.
And that's another highlight there. Thank you very much for bringing that up. The fact that they were found in Zamfara State, from Sokoto. Yeah. So that's from one side, from Kaduna rather, from one side of Nigeria, almost from one side of Nigeria to another
from
region.
One state to another state, So
thank you.
That of course, even as adults, you would have been worn out completely overspent, really, having to trek that long, from Kaduna State to Zamfara State. It's not for people who know the kind of landmass the north has. You understand that it's not a cheap party, really. So that's the unfortunate thing. We had the good news, but unfortunately, the teacher could not make it. Children are back. The governor saw them. But again, you see a governor that looks completely distraught. Yes, he's happy that the children are back, but you see a worried man. The way he was talking. If you look at him, his physical appearance, his demeanor, his countenance shows that, look, all is not well. Even though he has thanked the president, thanked the military. Now there's this talk about whether it was rescue or a release.
Okay.
Whether they were rescued or released, whether ransom was paid or not. Questions were also asked the governor, and he said that, look, it doesn't matter. That, look, he's just happy to announce that these children are back, and that he wasn't going to go into the conversation of whether ransom was paid or not. So there are no clarity to whether ransom was paid or not. But the reality is that, look, something happened, and the children are back. And that's the story we have. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Said Fuad. I mean, I could also go ahead to ask you a whole lot of other questions I have, especially as regards Obasanjo's statements, speaking on, the past governors receiving. I think we started this conversation when Gbenga Daniel, former governor of Ogun State, made a decision. And then in recent times, Alex Oti of Abia State also said, he gave, moved that motion as well in Abia. And then, that clamor has come up again as regards cost of governance and why we have to pay so much, to past public office holders. But let's go into the major stories for today. I'm sure is that all of that is going to be dissected in the course of the week. Midweek politics, situation room, open forum. So many programs for our dear listener to ensure to have their voice heard as regards all of the trending stories across the country. Now, thank you for joining us. It is to Midland 98.3 FM. We have Fuad Saheed via the phone line for analysis of our stories. My name still remains Omobola Sandra. Don't forget we are social. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Midland 98.3 FM. I have my papers here, Vanguard, The Guardian, and New Telegraph. So I'll kick off with Vanguard newspaper and the major headline on the front page of Vanguard: Niger Delta leaders, stakeholders to federal government pull army out of Okwama and other Bayelsa and Delta communities. And riders to that, to relieve tense situation in the oil region, want whoever killed or stole arms, ammunition from soldiers to quickly return them. Army urges cooperation of communities to recover stolen rifles as Urhobo youths appeal against Odi experience in Okwama. IYC Ijaw Youth Council, denies alleged plans to attack military facilities and locations. Oghora forest ambush. Delta police nab 3 suspected killers of officers. So before we go into the pulling out of Okwama story, for the very unfortunate situation that happened with the police still in Delta State. I don't know, but this attack against our uniformed men is something that we really need to pay some attention to. Operatives of Delta State Police Command have arrested 3 of the killers of the Intelligence Response Team (IRT) personnel and Mopol officers who had gone to rescue some officers from the hands of kidnappers at Oghora Forest in the state. And as it is now, the Police Service Commission has condemned in strong terms the new wave of killing of police officers on official duties, stressing that these officers are also Nigerians who deserve the support, encouragement, and protection of the citizens. So, reliable sources, according to Vanguard, is that 3 suspects were traced to somewhere within the Warri vicinity and arrested by battle-ready policemen. So, as it is now, there are 6 other officers who are still missing at this time. So on Saturday, it was confirmed that 6 officers were killed in an ambush by kidnappers or criminals in the forest in Delta State. So for this dastardly killing of officers, although this happened about 2 weeks ago, and these 6 are still missing, but then this situation or this issue or this problem here of security operatives being attacked, and then what exactly is happening in our oil region?
Well, there's trouble in the land, Sandra. Simple. That's plain truth, really. All is not well, and it's unfortunate because again, this seems to be bringing that fear of the pre-Yaradua era to mind. During the Obasanjo era, where you had a lot of destruction and crisis and chaos in the Niger Delta region. Because again, it's not becoming like a consistent pattern. Where security operatives are murdered, ambushed, killed in this manner. We're still dealing with the killing of 17 military personnel in Okwama. That's not resolved yet. And then we have this issue of policemen on rescue mission. 6 of them killed, 6 still missing as we speak. And of course, the police has announced that there's a man on forced to rescue these missing police officers and also fish out the killers of these policemen. There's trouble in the land. That's just the reality. All is not well. And whether we like it or not, Sandra, we keep saying these things. The things, the right things we refuse to do will always one day come back to haunt us. The things we gloss over. We keep sweeping it under the carpet. We don't pay attention to these things. For example, there has never been any intentional move to ensure that proper security exists in the Niger Delta region. The national commitment for the national region, for the Niger Delta region, has always been the oil, the resources of that region. How do we ensure we produce enough oil, good oil? There's nobody paying attention to, look, what is actually happening to the people of the Niger Delta region. Who are the non-state actors, involved in this crude oil theft, bunkering, illegal refineries. And at the end of the day, the nation is in a desperate attempt to just ensure that nothing affects our oil production and not really solving the problem. More like a palliative arrangement. Now they will contact a non-state actor to now watch over this thing. You understand what? You have a problem because you are not ready to do the right thing and you have refused to pay attention to the real problem. Then you now decide to create a bigger problem, try to solve one problem. And I don't want to go to, I'm sure people understand what we're saying. You empower non-state actors and you think peace will be in that land. That's the results you are seeing. So because again, we have refused to do the right thing. If you don't do things and there are always consequences for choice like this. And that's what we are saying, unfortunately. So you ask yourself now, who are these guys that have this capacity to outgun, military personnel, to kill policemen in this manner? Who are these guys? What is their capacity? And from the reports we are getting, these guys are bigger than what we know. They are bigger than what we know. And where are all these monies coming from? We as a nation have empowered some of them. Then, of course, there's also the lucrative business of oil, which has a lot of conspiracies and collaboration and complicity around it. So we are where we are because we have refused to do the right thing as a people. Again, it goes back to the failure of governance. It's unfortunate. Nobody pays attention.
Well, still on this particular story, in related reports, of course, they are all related. Now to the Okoma situation for her. Thank you very much for that, for those highlights. But then we have here now the Pere, as traditional ruler of Kabowe Kingdom in Patani local government area, Delta State. His Royal Majesty Barrister Shadrach Perembowe Erebulu Ado III said, and I quote, "It is a sad incident that we never envisaged in our dear state that has been peaceful. My advice first goes to the youths involved in this incident. I plead with them to return the military weapons to the appropriate authorities because their actions have caused innocent persons to lose their lives and habitation."
How will they return the weapons, Sandra?
Thank you.
Who is going to carry the weapons to the authorities?
Where would they drop it?
Where would they drop it? They'll just
So I'm even also concerned with the fact that our dear, wonderful Royal Highness or Royal His Majesty wants them to go and drop it. So after dropping it, should they be arrested or not?
Maybe they should bring the weapons to his palace.
So you like mediator and just
would not be the one to present. And I guess our respected royal father wanted to just make a statement and also show some form of support to ability personnel and that. A lot of these royal fathers have been killed at risk, have been behind some of these things. I think recently there was also the governor of Delta State saying that no royal father should be abhor these criminals. So I guess again our royal fathers are a bit on the edge. It is some a bit frightened as to what is happening around them, and so they have to issue a statement to show some form of support and solidarity to military personnel. I don't think anybody that has stolen the weapons of killed soldiers, 17 of them, would want to bring them out. They have to be fished out. Those criminals would have to be fished out and the weapons recovered. It's not going to be somebody coming to say, okay, take your weapon. No. It's not going to happen. That's why I say, how are they going to do that?
Well, he said when things like this happen, most times it's not even the perpetrators that feel the impact, it's innocent people. So I would call on, I'm quoting now, very important, I would call on the youths that have carted away the military items to submit them to the appropriate authorities. We'll see. I'll pick them, we can't drop the gun and I say, oh, you're the one that took it, come.
Oh, bye, thank you for bringing that on.
Just like that. Anyways, to the military, I urge them to employ their tactics in investigating and fishing out these persons. I know the military has a way they go about things, their intelligence and all. In doing that, let them be wary of attacking or hurting innocent people, because at times like this, you may not know the perpetrators. If innocent persons are affected, it turns the whole ball around, so they should not cause more problems to the communities. To the federal government, almost all parastatals and agencies have spoken on this issue that they will do their best to fish out the perpetrators. My advice to government is to walk the talk and bring the needed peace in the area. The federal government should pay attention and set up a commission of inquiry to inquire into the happenings and causes of this ugly incident in Okwama, to bring justice to the people. At this stage, when we talk about justice, it is justice to the government, to the military, and to the people, which can only be achieved after proper investigation through the commissions of inquiry. From His Royal Majesty Erebulu, Kabowe Monarch.
You see, Sandra, all of this misadventure we are currently having in that region, after all said and done, because I think we are not handling this issue properly. The government is not handling it properly. Military authorities, I'm sorry, are not also handling it properly. The communities also have their own blames too. So after all of this, this misadventure, you know that we are still going to now have a committee, like something like what did the man recommend? I'm sorry, commission. You now hear that we now want to form a truth or a commission of inquiry, blah blah blah, and then what has been done has been done. And sometimes, Sandra, when you do things like this, when you handle an issue, very sensitive issue like this, the way we are doing, The party is never going away. You understand? The effect will always be there. And what it will now bring is to breed what you call national discontent that you continue to deal with for years if you are not careful. Because you think, because I feel that if we are not careful, what we are doing now, whether we like it or not, the dust will eventually set. There will be compensation deals, typical that, all of those things will go. But you would have a national discontent among the people of that region that you may not be able to resolve if we are not careful. And that's why we are saying that we need to watch this blind race that's currently going on. As we speak, most of those communities are still under siege. If you look at the report, all of the reports as to what is happening to innocent people of those communities are still being gotten from just sources that are not even well substantiated. As we speak officially, no journalists have said that they've been granted access to those communities. Like we said, we agree that, look, our military personnel, our heroes should never, under any circumstances, die in that manner. It should never happen. But we have to be careful the way we're handling the issue. Again, that is a region that has a lot of economic implications for Nigeria. We have to be careful.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Speaking of that, just to wrap things up on this particular report, I have here co-convener Embasara Foundation and Ijaw Think Tank for Good Governance in Noro Wales said Tinubu should identify national and Niger Delta interests. In this, it said, and I quote, "The big question is whether Nigeria even cares to avoid multiplying the number of grieving families at this time. Investigation should be conducted, but it seems to me, not being a security expert, the Office of the National Security Advisor must be the coordinator. And also looking at a judicial panel be set up consisting of serving or retired appellate justices who are not stained by credible perceptions of bias or corruption." And it went further to say that, among other vitals, a sensible national interest and a coherent Niger Delta policy, sensible and coherent being the keywords. So far, both concepts have been myopically misconstrued as synonymous with mineral extra activism. So no country should be made to look so daft for so long. President Tinubu, while chasing the killers, should not waste the glaring long-term lessons from this tragedy. And that's from Iniro Wales, co-convener of Embasara Foundation. Also, we have here very quick. Yes.
No, go on, Sandra.
Okay. We also have here a political activist, Blessing Adima, says that Tinubu should take a cue from Yar'Adua. Said the best way to handle the issue is for President Bola Tinubu to take a cue from how President Musa Yar'Adua handled the situation, because if it escalates, it will cause more economic hardship in the country. And that's as regards, the peak of militancy in the Niger Delta, which resulted in low oil production. And it was people like Chief Edwin Clark, former President Goodluck Jonathan, the governor of Delta State, who went into the creeks, spoke to the aggrieved Niger Deltans, and the people bought into the presidential amnesty program by President Musa Yar'Adua. So, amnesty conversation. And also we have here, it said, and I quote, "Soldiers should not be the first to be drafted anywhere there is crisis in Nigeria. The federal government has in recent years approved the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, which has to carry out a community issue like this." And that's from Blessing Adima, a political activist. And finally, political analyst, Delta government fumbled. And that's coming from Mikist Ewansiha Thomas. It said, first, the federal government must ensure that others do not copy this act of infamy, so it should go after the perpetrators and all of that. And the governor of Delta State and former government did not do enough. The chairman of Ughelli South and Bumadi local government areas with the governor have incumbent liabilities. Because the governor is the chief security officer, the governor has many explanations to make. He must perform to ensure that these warring communities do not fight anymore and settle their disputes for what they have done so far. Justice must be done. And that's all as regards that one. That's the major headline on the front page of Vanguard. As regards Okoma, community in Delta and, other communities in Bayelsa, and the Ohoro forest ambush where, 3 police officers are still missing and 3 are dead. Very unfortunate. Now, the stories on pages 5, 12, and 26 of Vanguard newspaper. Very quickly now, what Kano government hails Dangote on palliatives to residents. That's on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. So just very, very quickly, what do we have here is, yes, Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf received and distributed 120,000 bags of rice produced by Aliko Dangote Foundation as palliatives to no fewer than 120,000 residents in the state. And it said the Alhaji Aliko Dangote, chairman of the group, said the foundation had spent not less than 15 billion naira on food intervention program across the country. Afwad, that's a good one.
Well, it's a good one. Congratulations to you those that got you right. So after maybe 1 month again, you'll get another one. So they're coming to give rights to people. It's a very good one.
1 month. It's 10 kg. What? You say 1 month?
Okay, maybe 1 week.
Because it's 10 kg. I just I should tell you.
So congratulations to everyone that got the right. And we also want to thank Alhaji Aliko Dangote for
good
being so magnanimous, to give rights to people. So I think that's it for me. Continue to give rights.
That's all right. Thank you very much.
Abi?
Is there anything you want to say? No, Fad. No, not from you. Thank you. All right. We also have here, Serap to Tinubu, emulate OT, obey court judgment, stop paying pensions to ex-governors. Fuad, do you think that's possible on the federal level?
No, it's true. That it's not even about possible or not. On the basis of morality, these things should never have happened in the first place. Where you have about 22 states, and it's not just these things. I think they pass it into law. There are different state assemblies, where former governors have these bogus pensions, emoluments, and then I think they also have rights, and they are deputies. So and they also have, I think they have to get housing. I think every 4 years they have to change their vehicles,
change their cars. Yeah.
So the funny thing is that most of these governors, as they are taken from the state, apart from the fact that these were governors that ran most of their states aground, to start with, as governors, most of them they ran those states aground, secured huge debts. Some of them have corruption cases hanging around them. You understand? So those were people that are completely overfed from the resources of the state. Living again, they still want to continue to dip their hands into the treasury of their state in the form of bogus, embarrassing pensions, emoluments, very good today. You have to build out for debt. And at the end of the day, they still go from those states. Some of them retire into the Senate. Some of them are appointed as ministers. And they are so. You can see the greed. Can you now see the greed you are talking about? Whereas in those states, the people that are supposed to benefit from these resources are still highly, extremely impoverished. Infrastructure is still poor. Health, no. And this is the government that will tell you, the government cannot provide free education. The government does not have enough money to give free health care. And they are good to give excuses when it comes to the things that benefit the poor. But they have a way of taking care of themselves. No, there's no excuse to things that will take care of them. They know how to go about that. And they will sort that out for. It's always a priority to them. So you ask yourself, what then is the purpose of governance? It is not about service to the people. So it's just about a few who have been lucky, whether through hook or crook means just get into power and everything has to just be around them. And that's what this report is saying. And it's exemplary from Governor Alex Otti of Abia. He can't continue to do it. Not even at the time we are talking about lack of resources to develop our different states. And it is important that we tell the president to also show a good example, because most of these people started in Lagos. That's the reality. Let's say the way it is. It started in Lagos. Most of this things. So are we going to be selfless enough to get our leaders to review some of these laws? But again, it's left to them if they are able to read the room enough to show this kind of example. But it has to stop.
All right. Thank you very much. I mean, just as you have rightly highlighted, Serap has urged the president to emulate the good example of Governor Alex Otti of Abia State by immediately obeying the judgment ordering the federal government to recover pensions collected by former governors. So, the president...
They might not even recover it, but at least stop paying it.
Okay. So, you don't...
You understand?
At least don't go forward. Let's just...
don't go.
Is that right?
It's not. Let's stop. You look at what the big Daniel did. He said out of good conscience.
Yes.
He cannot be in the Senate collecting all of those jumbo pay in the Senate and still continue to collect pensions and all of these things from the state government. At least the state government stop paying me. But there are a lot of them who are there. What of those ministers now? Some of them former governors,
senators, reps,
even the president himself. We need to ask that same question. Because he's a former governor of Lagos State. Is Lagos State still paying him as president?
As president? No. There's no good. It's not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
You tell it's not possible. How do you know it's not possible?
Do you see that Ogun State people are people of good conscience? I mean, look at the former governor of Ogun State. There, he took a stand, and here we are. We are so proud of our people. But away from that, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, former president, has called these acts as daylight robbery. And has called for such laws to be abolished. Yes, by state governors. The fact that governors and their deputies, some very non-existent deputies, that we have in a lot of states in this country as well.
Some of these deputies, some of them are so quote unquote lost. Something happens with. Okay, let me give you an example now. The way they are trying to. I don't know whether the law exists in every state. I have to check. Maybe it's part of the 22 states. The way they are trying to remove Fᴜģᴜ now, you know that if they remove him, there will be another deputy governor. And if that one spends just 4 months as deputy governor, he will still have to continue to benefit. That's happening in some states. It happened in Lagos and some other states where the deputy governor was removed at the last minute of ending the government of that particular time. And those deputies are enjoying what they are saying. Just for maybe just 3 months or 6 months.
Look at that.
Do you understand? So just being there and you get out, get president,
governor,
that's why it's really going to spend almost like a year. I'm saying deputies that maybe 4 months or 6 months. Like I see in a day, if that law exists in a day, I have to check. It means that whoever
it actually does.
So if they succeed in removing Fᴜģᴜ now, and then a new deputy governor is born, he would have to benefit from this same thing we are talking just for being there. Like you said, non-existing deputies who don't have real role and function. They're just there. So look at the resources of the state. The way there are people that will now sit down and begin to justify this nonsense now.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Finally, from Vanguard newspaper, Edo Guba, INEC ends nomination of candidates to unveil list today. And right after that, Akpata Obedient Movement disagree over Labour Party primaries. Exercise was cash and carry. Obedience Movement says. This is happening. Labour Party conducted best primary, says former NBA President Olumide.
Yeah, the primary is emergence now, but the obedience, I don't know. Really, the Labour Party.
Things are supposed to be. You have the Obedient Movement, you have the Labour Party, then you now have NLC. So it's
a tripartite party.
Yes, is it? Things are happening within that party. Is a
that arrangement.
Yes,
I think for whether it is if it's still a tripartite arrangement where you have the NLC is supposed to be the parent institution that vetted at the Labour Party, you have the Labour Party, and then the obedience as led by Mr. Peter. I think the soul of that party has to be Mr. Peter Obi. If he leaves that party, that's it. If you just be like your party, it's party.
Fuad. But I was innocently sitting here doing my job. No, but
remove Peter Obi and the obedience from
the Labour Party existed
yes.
before Peter Obi.
What were they doing before?
They had candidates, they also had candidates. They had, they had their normal prime. There was no noise. There were no issues.
Wait, now the best ever show in the party had in the past was when Mimiko became the governor under the party. And it didn't even end well at the end of the day.
But that
success ended in problems. And like this, look, the way we're going, the way the Labour Party is going, we said it yesterday on the program. It's clear that they can't even manage the little success they got in the last election. That's a party that should be consolidating on their last successes. Building on it, consolidating, strengthening themselves, working together, and looking forward towards what will happen in 2027. But they are in complete disarray as we speak. They have a national convention that's supposed to hold this match. They've shifted more than 3 times. As we speak, that national convention, we don't even know the date. We don't even know the venue. From Inewi to Edo State, everywhere is confusion. Yes.
What? Said Fuad. Who is the chairman? Who is the chairman of the party?
Jesus Abure, at least he has been affirmed by the appeal court, even though the case has not gotten to the Supreme Court. The Lamidi Papa people are still not backing down.
It's okay. Well, thank you very much, Said Fuad. That's all we can take from Vanguard newspaper. 20 minutes past 8, and you're still on to trends in the papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Thank you to those who are with us on Facebook. We acknowledge you joining the show. Let's move on. Before we move on, I just remembered now, just a quick one. Sincere apologies to our listeners who join us via Radio Garden. There have been some complaints over time. Not to worry, we're working on it as regards, the intermittent adverts that come in between the programs, and we're working on it back end. Thank you for staying with us. Let's move on now to the Guardian newspaper. The major headline there: living wage negotiations hobbled by deaths and poor execution in states. Nigeria's minimum wage floor progression in 2000 under former President Olusegun Obasanjo was 7,500. By 2010, under former Presidents Yar'Adua and Jonathan, it was 18,000. In 2019, the former President Muhammad Buhari pushed it up to 30,000 naira. And now there's a big question as regards what the renewed hope, living wage would be. All right, in 2024. So general price level progression, it's all here, and what we have is from 2010 to 2024 percentage cumulative increase is 600%, while minimum wage increase is 67%. So is it commensurate? Is it working together? We don't know. But then, as of December 31st, 2023, Nigeria's debt profile is 97.3 trillion naira. So with living wage negotiations being currently going on now, Fuad, with the tripartite committee on the minimum wage negotiations, can we see? The state governors are already coming out and saying, "See, guys, we won't be able to afford this thing if the government."
But they can pay pensions. They can continue to pay ridiculous pensions to former governors. It is, like I've told you, it is that thing that concerns the poor people. There's always a waiting excuse to give for not being able to do those simple things that concerns the people, which is supposed to be the real thing about governance. They already, and if you look at it, it's almost looking like a planted story. For me, every day there's something about because of the death hanging, this and that. So they're already putting the complaints and the excuses ahead, so that you know that they don't even come and ask for anything. We can't play it too.
Well, because what we have is as of today now, 15 states. There are 15 states in the country that are even yet to implement the 30,000 minimum wage since 2019.
So how do you negotiate with those kind of things?
These are the things that are raising doubts if this current negotiation wage review would actually end with any implementation, or even if there will even be any official documents, or maybe to just end that, there's a document to it, and then you have some states not being able to meet up.
Like happened in the past. You are the federal government sorting itself out. I don't know how it would end, but of course, because again, there's this news that most likely on May Day, the president
will be an announcement. Yes,
but we don't know yet, because again, the negotiations are not going well. So we don't really have any information to show that the negotiations are going the way it should go. And it would look like an attempt to unsweep the organized labor if the president just announced the minimum wage without a resolution that was formed by the power and
Fuad, I can barely hear you. The network is.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, it's better. Thank you.
So what I'm saying is that look, it will amount to an attempt to twist the organized labor. If the president on Monday, without any resolution from the tripartite committee on minimum wage, announces a minimum wage to now be who on what ground? Is he announcing that? Because again, it's not confirmed. It's just reporting.
Hello?
Yes,
Oh, I can barely hear you, Fad. Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me now?
It's better. Yes, thank you.
So we'll have to wait anyway. We'll have to wait. But I'm not so sure. I think at the end of the day, you have the federal government having its own thing and the different states doing their own thing. And I don't think we're going to have an harmonized living wage or minimum wage, no matter the name you want to call it.
It's okay. Well, thank you so much. Because at this time now, state governors are burdened by debts, poor IGR, and heavy cost of governance. Very expensive cost of governance in different states. Aside from that, the private sector as well needs to also, there's also needs to be some focus on that, because paying high wage may not be realistic for a lot of people in the private sector. First, there's cost minimization has become a necessary survival strategy for a lot of businesses, trying to reduce cost of operations and all of that. Manufacturing and services and all of that, with the rising cost of living, growing demand of living wages and all. So even the private sector, whether or not, would they be able to meet up with whatever, comes off the negotiation table? We'll get to find out.
A private sector is struggling to survive.
Struggling to survive if they'll be able to even meet up. Well, the story is on page 6. Living wage negotiations hobbled by debt and poor execution in states. That's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Also, we have here on the front page, insecurity. Tinubu's government has failed. Enough is enough, says Northern elders. That's on page 6. Just one question before we move on to the next story. Is it too early to say the government has failed? Because, although there was a report, I think I'm going to sound a little bit contradictory here to myself. But there was a report that, so far over 6,900 or so have been killed, abducted, kidnapped or whatnot
in 10 months
of the president's administration. So do you think that maybe, it still has like a month or so to go, 2 months to go to a year. Maybe we should give him more time, or do you think it's this? Would you agree with this statement that this government has failed as regards insecurity?
I would say that we have failed.
I can barely hear you.
I will not say that.
Do I reconnect? What? Hello. Okay. Yes, you are listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers. We're looking through major stories trending on the front pages of our dailies. We have a few more minutes to go. Then we'll take a break and we'll come back for Mainland Focus, where you get to be a part of the conversation. Yes, Fuad, very quickly, please.
Yes. Well, it's difficult for me to say it has failed.
Okay.
But it's not doing well. Let me just put it that way. It's not doing well.
Okay.
But to say it has failed would look like an overkill. I think it still has the opportunity to correct whatever wrong that we have now when it comes to issue of insecurity. Okay. There's still enough time for it. You can't. The 10 months record is not looking good. The figures are not looking good. The results are not looking good. Okay. But he still has enough time, to correct whatever wrong we have now when it comes to issue of insecurity. So I'll say it's not doing well, but it has not failed.
Okay, so you cannot say, the way the day will go is the way the money will go. How was that saying that goes?
Sometimes it's not always like that. Okay. Sometimes you assume that it's like that and then things change. So we'll wait to see whether the president will get it right. He has the opportunity, he has time.
All right.
But we just have to wait to see. But for now, it's not doing well.
Okay. Well, the story is on page 6, and we also have here, that's all we can take from The Guardian, except, of course, operators begin final disconnection of unlinked SIMs. Please do well to go and link your NIN with your SIM card, and also link your BVN to your NIN. This very, very important that we do all that is necessary so we do not get caught off unexpectedly. All right, and that's all we can take for this from the Guardian newspaper. Let's wrap things up now with New Telegraph and the major headline: 3 days to 1 billion naira ransom deadline. Troops rescue 137 abducted Kaduna school children. And DHQ confirms support from local authorities and government agencies. We had sleepless nights waiting for our children, says parent. Government deploying strategies to ensure safety in schools, says President. Abbas Atiku Obi Lord release, urge enhanced security. And IGP Special Anti-Kidnapping Squad deployed in Kaduna. The story is on pages 2, 3,
we are
and
still
7.
doing the same old thing, Sandra. 2 armored personnel carriers and about 200 policemen have been deployed to the troubled areas in Kaduna State to peace for security. Fine. But what about technology? What about intelligence? That I will keep saying it. Security in this modern era has gone beyond just putting men into this thing. What about intelligence gathering? What about technology, drones? And
right.
Because again, if you want to get ahead of this criminal, Sandra, you have to do more than just deploying men. Technology has to come in.
Okay. Thank you very much for that's all we can take as regards, analysis this morning on the trends in the papers. But very important to just call these headlines out. Edo PDP chairman's abductors demand 500 million naira ransom. That's on page 7. Yes, I just have to quickly put that out.
That's $500 billion.
Yes, $500 billion. And that's on page 7 of New Telegraph. Edo PDP chairman abductors demand 500 million. Also have here why security vote should be scrapped. And that's coming from lawyers as concerns mount over its misuse amid rising insecurity. That's on pages 14 and 16. That's a very interesting read. We may want to look deeper into that as well. And finally, parliamentary diplomacy critical to world peace and conflict resolution, says Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The story is on page 26 of New Telegraph. Thank you for staying with us. We'll take a very short break. We'll be back by 8:40 for Milan Focus, where you, our dear listener, you get to be a part of the conversation. In the meantime, this is Milan 98.3 FM.
Rock the time. Rock the groove.
Mommy, wetin happen? They don't block your line now.
Nobody like to chop blocking, so if they don't block you unto say you not link your NIN to your Airtel line, run kitty go any Airtel shop with your NIN to unblock your line today.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.